Okay, we're here with Mr. John Collins, and what better way to learn the John Collins knot than from the man himself, John Collins. Good morning, John.
Morning, Pete. How you doing?
Hey, doing great. And tell us about the John Collins knot. How did you invent that?
Well, it all happened when I was on watch one night on the Royal Polaris. We were on our way to Hurricane Bank, and we had just passed the Lejos Rocks. And I had the early watch from 2 to 5 in the morning, and I was up there playing around with some Spectra and some mono. And one of the passengers, an individual named Coach, who quite a few of you know, he came up and we were sitting around talking, and I was playing around with the mono on the Spectra here and started practicing different types of things to try to come up with an easier connection. And lo and behold, I came up with this one that we've referred to as the RP connection, and others call it the John Collins knot. Either way, it's the same knot.
Yeah.
Yeah, the knots, when Spectra first came out, most of the boats would say, we don't want that stuff on the boat.
Right.
Got one or two guys, you're going to cut everybody off.
I remember Frank telling me that.
Yeah. Don't use that stuff. We don't want that stuff on the boat. Well, obviously, as time has progressed, we've seen that with the invention of the smaller reels that have the higher drag capacity, with Spectra, you're able to fish all day holding onto your rod and reel without lugging around these huge rods, these huge reels, and filled with mono, making it 3 times as heavy as it would be with Spectra.
Sure. All right, well, let's get checking on these knots and learn the RP knot, or otherwise known as the John Collins knot, okay?
All right, Pete.
All right.
All right, when we first started using Spectra and monofilament, actually Spectra and monofilament were the first choices, and then eventually we went from Spectra to mostly fluorocarbon now. We were having to tie a bimini, which this right here is a bimini, and then to make a loop in order to make the connection into the Spectra. I think you can see the length of this connection. We've got it from here to here, and this is actually a small connection the way things started out in the beginning. Well, a lot of guys felt like you had to be an octopus to tie a bimini because you got it both lines stretched in the hand, you got it in between your knees, you've got your feet on the bottom of it. Well, of course, over the years we've learned easier ways to tie the biminis, but in any event, this was one of the first type of connections that were made for Spectra. This one right here, you can see right here, this is a back-to-back uni. It's a fairly easy knot to tie, a little more time consuming, but I think when you see the difference between the back-to-back uni and the one that I came up with, you'll see that the one I came up with is much less bulky. Well, at some point in time, somebody, who I don't know who it was, but came up with the decision that, well, hell, if this is only making a loop in the line, why don't we just make a loop without tying the knot and see what happens? Well, eventually they come up with this one here. This is a worm knot. This particular knot is also, it's a good knot, with the exception of the fact, again, like it's a little bit bulky, and most guys like to tie a double uni at the head of the knot in order to keep it secure where it wouldn't unravel. This is called a Tony Pena or a Bob Sands, however you want to call it. Some people refer to it as either one. It's a nice small profile knot, very good knot strength, but it's involved. It's like any knot. If you're used to tying it, it's easy, but it does take a little time. In comparison, this Tony Pena, and this is the RP or John Collins knot right alongside of it here, and you can see the difference as far as the size goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much smaller.
Now compare that to the back-to-back uni.
Back-to-back uni, and then here's the John Collins knot.
So the top one is the John Collins and the other one's back-to-back. So it's even more low profile. And these are all tied with 65-pound Power Pro and 60-pound monofilament?
60-pound monofilament.
Okay.
And for you guys that like to fish freshwater, I'm telling you something, this is the trick. This is the smallest possible connection you'll ever make.
All right. This
is, if you can see it, as small as it is.
Yeah.
This is 30-pound Power Pro and 25-pound fluorocarbon.
Wow.
And it is absolutely a miniature connection.
Well, let's go ahead and show people how to tie the knot. What do you think, John?
Okay, that sounds like a winner to me.
John's here, and we're going to show you the knot and how simple it is. Right, Sean?
It's pretty simple. You know what makes it nice too is if you're in the middle of a hot bite, you've got to change it out. There's nothing better than simple because you want to get back in the water right away.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's check it out.
Okay, what I've got here, I've got 40-pound mono and I've got 65-pound Power Pro.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do is, I find this to be the easiest way, is to take and make a loop in the monofilament. And then pinch the monofilament off with your thumb and forefinger. And you're going to take your Spectra, your Power Pro, drop it right down from the top through the loop, and with the same hand you're going to pick up the loop and the Power Pro just like this. And what you want to do is you want to have yourself a little extra line here to work with, and I like to take the tag end and the main line so that it's out of the way, and I'm going to use my thumb and forefinger to wrap around the double strands. And I'm going to wrap 5 wraps. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just about every knot has a critical junction point in the knot, and this is one of the critical points of this knot. What you want to do is you want to take your thumb and forefinger right at the end of the last wrap, pinch it off and hold it tight, and then let go. The same direction you wrapped in the beginning, you're going to continue wrapping back up 5 wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the beauty of this knot is it doesn't make any difference if you go back in the same way you came out, from the bottom up or from the top down. It doesn't make a bit of difference.
But you do want to wrap the same way you wrapped it before.
That's correct. If you don't wrap the same way, what you're basically doing is unwrapping what you wrapped.
Right.
So you want to have all your wraps in the same direction. Now you just take the tag end, go through the loop of the mono like this, then take both strands of Power Pro, both strands of mono, and start pulling them tight. Let go. And this is also another point. You want to give this a jerk, not a jerk hard enough to snap it, but a little jerk. And what it does, it locks the knot. Just like that.
So instead of pulling steady, you want to jerk.
You want to jerk it because you want to lock this knot. You don't want it to get any tighter than what it is right now. Right now, this knot is as tight as it will ever get. And
so you're not pulling on the tag ends, you're pulling on the actual, the regular lines.
You're going to pull on the end of the Spectra that's on your reel and the end of your mono or fluorocarbon that's going to go in the water.
Okay.
Because we're going to cut these tag ends off, so it doesn't make any difference. That's why you want those out of the way.
Okay.
And you give it that jerk and it locks the knot. This knot cannot get any tighter than it is right now.
Okay.
And that's what makes it nice, is you can trim it right next to the knot. You don't have a chunk of line hanging out from one end to the other.
Okay. A lot of guys say they'll go 7 turns rather than 5, but you think 5 is sufficient and it keeps the knot small.
The one thing about the knot is you want to keep it small. You don't want a big bulky knot. I could do this with 15 turns. I'm not going to get any more protection as far as the line breaking as I would with 5 turns.
Okay.
So the idea is to keep the knot nice and small and keep it strong. And with 5 turns, you've got it as strong as it's going to be. And it's not going to break, it's not going to slip, and it's a low profile knot.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to give you the angler's perspective on tying the knot. I'm standing over John's shoulder here. And John, go ahead and show us the John Collins knot from the angler's viewpoint.
Okay, same thing guys. What you want to do is you want to make a loop in your mono or fluorocarbon. You want to take your Power Pro, drop it straight down through the loop, pinch off the loop and the Power Pro. You want this out of your way, so you're going to kind of grab it. And then use your thumb and forefinger and make 5 wraps down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, this is where the point becomes a little critical. You want to grab it right at the very end. You can get this out of your way, and then same direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you're going to go right back through the loop. You can come up from the bottom or down through the top. It doesn't make any difference. And then you're going to take the tag end and the main line of your fluorocarbon, of your spectra, the tag end and the main line of your fluorocarbon or your mono, and pull all 4 pieces together. You're just getting it somewhat started. Okay, then you let go of your tag line of each piece and give it a jerk. That's it.
Wow, look how easily that seats. Very, very well done, John. Such an easy knot for Power Pro to fluorocarbon or Power Pro to mono. I use it, I've had success with it, and now that I know the intricacies of how easy it is to tie and the secret tricks that you showed us today, I'm going to tie it more often. Thanks very much.
Pete, you're more than welcome, and I hope your anglers enjoy it.
It takes a whole lot of fishing to do a little bit of catching. It takes a whole lot of fishing to do a little bit of catching. Well, I remember what my